Welcome back to the SWBL podcast. And tonight I am joined by season 21 champion SWBL Orioles. The full squad is in the house.
Woo!
So we can recap their triumphant run to some people's first championship, breaking the curse. We'll kind of get into all of it. I've got team captain John Light with me, the commish Sam Skibby, Brett Spencer, Peter Light, and PG Patrick Gotti. Everybody is here so we can break this thing down and kind of re-kick off our podcast series as we start to get into season 22. As that's right around the corner. Free agency is about to happen. The rumor mill is already kind of starting from what I've heard. So, but tonight is all about the orange and black. We'll call them the new Browns for sure. And yeah, we're going to get into it. Boys, how's everybody been?
Great, Brian. Thank you.
Doing well.
You got there.
Doing good.
All good.
Riding high.
Good. Well, let's start. Like, it's been 3 months since you won it. Has it sunk in?
John?
Yeah.
Really? Just like that?
It did a couple weekends ago for sure.
What happened? Go ahead.
So Brian, we all went out and celebrated correctly. I know the Expos are going to hate this part of the podcast because there was a long time where it was, we were a little bit scared of what might happen to the trophy if the Expos took it. And then I realized, you know what, who cares what happens to this trophy, and gave it to them. The trophy got to go to a wedding with the Expos. And, I think more people should celebrate like the Expos did. So we kind of took a little homage to the old Expos when they got the end of their trophy run. And we went bar hopping, Brian. We went on our own little Orioles parade here in West County. We started at my house, had some dinner, grilled up some hot dogs and brats. We had some beers. We watched the championship game, some playoff games. And then we bar hopped around West County, St. Louis, and ended up at everybody's favorite Bones French Quarter to end the night. And many of you have seen the celebration lasted well into the hours of the night, and Peter Light had to be carried out.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about that, Peter, and anybody else who wants to chime in. The photos have been circulated, the videos, something about a dog as well. Yeah.
Well,
first off, what was the last thing? What's the last thing you do remember from that night?
Walking into Sam's house about 5 o'clock. No, I'm just kidding. Brett is the MVP, is the playoff MVP. And I thought maybe I'd be needing to carry him out. But he really had my back there. They say it was a little bit of too much tequila. We got into a safe ride home. And there was a dog out there. John was making friends with a puppy dog.
I did not bark at that dog, despite what was posted in the group chat.
What it looks like.
So
if the camera had been recording 10 seconds earlier, you would have seen me rubbing that dog's belly.
Okay.
But when I stopped doing that, the dog got mad that I stopped doing it and barked at me. And I tried to say, I love you. I still love you. You're awesome. But it looked bad in the video. I agree.
Yeah. So Pete, I want to go back to this. You're saying that Brett had to carry you again?
Well, they have a nice patio out there, but there's a single step down into the parking lot and the asphalt. So, I mean, that single step, that could take anybody down. So it was a precautionary thing. And, just what a great teammate. That's how I would end that story for sure.
Yeah. And Brian, I'll defer to Brett on this one, but Brett, can you talk about what happened after we left my house, where we went next, and who we got to see and experience things with?
Ooh,
he doesn't remember either.
At the blur, Brett.
Oh, the blur.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I do remember that part. Yeah. So we stopped by the Blur, and Kevin and Kay were inside, just hanging out on whatever Saturday night. Was it Friday night? Saturday night. And so we got out to the mound and started chanting their name, and like what we did with the Expos. We had an homage to the Yankees that night, and had brought a bottle of alcohol with us, and brought Kevin and Kay out to the Blur and took some shots. So
it was the funniest part about that was we chanted Kevin's name first, not because he's a favorite, just because we knew it'd be a better reaction. And like he was so excited, just like, yeah, I'm so here. And then I don't know, I'll let Sam talk about his mom. She was a little less excited to have her name chanted to come.
She did not. She didn't want to.
She did, in fact, come drink tequila.
But she took
it wasn't quite the same reaction.
She did. And Brian, the picture behind me, my background screen, was an amazing picture. We feel like it could win photo of the year. I mean, it will be a nominee for sure, but just some champs hanging out, it was a good time. The worst thing that happened that night was we went to 1356 and Brett and I were getting drinks, and we were trying to find a beer suitable or a seltzer suitable for PG, and we couldn't find it, but PG had to go find it himself. So that was about the worst part of the evening, which means that our evening was great.
Yeah, it all worked out.
The reception you get walking in with a big ass trophy to any place it was
awesome. We got claps, standing ovations. We've never met these people before, and they're just clapping.
They didn't know what the trophy was, but
I was gonna say, how many questions did you get about like what it was for and explain
a lot
on the league?
Yeah.
And all that?
Got a lot of questions.
PG was
before we
dancing.
forget this, my favorite part about that picture is anyone who's played in this league for any kind of time knows exactly where that picture was taken. You know what I mean? Like you look at it and go, I know exactly where they were when that was taken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nostalgia.
All right. One last thing on the celebration, like you guys talked about the Brewers and obviously the Yankees last year. A question I had was, it's kind of tough to celebrate, and obviously you guys were able to celebrate here locally because everybody lives. Is that something that's just been kind of nice, and an added bonus of the fact that everybody lives in St. Louis? You guys can, reminisce. Maybe it's helped everything sink in a little bit. I felt like with the Yankees, they were like, it's kind of sunk in, but not quite. They'd seen each other a little bit, but Sam's out in California and Gus is in KC, and kind of tougher. So you feel like the fact that obviously you guys are around each other a lot more here in St. Louis, it's just easier to kind of feel that, reminisce when you see each other instant.
I do. I mean, I think we've been to Sam's house a few times in the past few years for that purpose.
Yeah.
After the other night, after French Quarter and all that, I feel like we may as well just start doing it monthly. It was that much fun. Yeah.
It's really nice, like Peter said, to be all close together. It's definitely, John said, it's definitely more than a few times that we've been over my place, and we've gone to. I feel like our camaraderie as a team has grown because we are so close together. And there's even people on your team, Brian, that aren't in St. Louis, and it's rare for a lot of teams in our league to now stick to just the St. Louis city. So it's really nice that we can be all together and close together for sure.
I mean, one of the cool things about this league is the fact that people travel. Sam Bakula every year for how many years has flown in from LA to do this. That's awesome. And we're not discounting that. Nice little coincidence that we've got kind of the opposite scenario going on.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into how we got here. Let's start with the regular season. You guys ended up going 7-3. I'm going to list the losses here because it's going to come into play later, but you had losses against the Astros, the Yankees, and the Twins. So what moments, throughout the regular season, what things stand out? Moments, games, just what pops out whenever you're thinking of season 21?
I'll go first here. 7-3. From 7-1 to 7-3. We entered the playoffs on a 2-game losing streak. And I can't believe I'm going to admit this on podcast, but we probably should have entered the playoffs on a 3-game losing streak and lost to the Marlins, which means we would have been 6-4. We would have lost the tiebreaker with the Twins, so they would have been the 2. we'd have been the 3 instead of vice versa. And who knows what would have happened if that would have happened. I mean, could be a whole different playoffs.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you the home run derby win against the Marlins as a key moment in our season.
Nice job, Brett.
Which no one will ever get to see.
I know. Overheated at the last minute. It stinks.
He's trying, man. Be nice to him.
Just in your memory. But yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I don't know. Nothing in particular stands out. I mean, how much better we were the year prior losing, and then how much shittier we were this year. It just weirdly came together in the playoffs. But that Marlins win turned out to be huge. So I agree with it. I agree with that.
Even though we were 7-1 at one point, I guess it didn't feel as secure winning the number 1 seed as it might have last year. And it was very similar to last year though throughout the year. I mean, we knew what we'd see in the playoffs, and both times it went one way, it could have gone the other. So yeah, it was pretty wild.
Yeah,
great championship game.
The regular season, I think, was kind of, at least for me, kind of a blur, because the playoffs were really, as our teammates will know, was the start of a new season, at least for me. So I really don't remember most of the regular season. It's kind of a blur, but yeah, just reveling in the championship.
For sure. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I will say, you guys said you were crappier this year than the year before, and I haven't looked at all the stats, and that might be true to an extent, but I also would say, like, the competition, we've said it every year, in preseason stuff, but the competition gets better and better and better, and the teams get closer and closer. And that was most evident this year. I mean, you had 6 teams going for 2 wild card spots going into the last games of Monday. And it all worked out the way it did. But I mean, there were 2 teams out of the playoffs. Everybody else was fighting. So
I mean, even the A's were still in it at the end there.
Yeah.
They were still in it too.
Yeah.
If they can turn their shit around, that's not a bad team. And the Rockies didn't do what they did the previous year, which was shit the bed. Right. I mean, everyone knows they're a good team, and no one has more respect for them than I do. That's how it should be.
Yeah. My point was just that, it might seem on paper that you struggled more because you had maybe closer wins or whatever, but it could just be the fact that the teams just got better. And so at the same time, like maybe that battle hardened you for the playoffs and made it possible. I think we've always talked about it being the hot team, and you guys were the exact opposite of that. As you said, you were not the hot team going into the playoffs, but you've also, your losses were against playoff teams. You still won 7 games, even if they were close. That's going to prepare you for playoff games.
I have a question for the team, because you mentioned like that might have battle hardened us, but like I don't think it did. I mean, I would ask the other 4 guys, like, did we feel as good going to the playoffs this year as we did last year? Were we more or less battle hardened? I don't think we were. I think I know what it was, and this might be a good segue, Brian, into you. It's when, as PG said, the season reset. We kicked that thing off with an absolute bang. And I mean, I don't remember every single playoffs going back, but this has to be one of the better starts to a playoffs
Sounds like it.
that anyone has ever had. So, I mean, semifinals and then especially the finals.
Yeah.
With
just a reset.
The way that we played the year prior and the way that we played this year, speaking specifically, once we hit that end of that regular season, we're like, all right, well, we know what we can do. So start fresh and we'll see how it goes. And luckily we all little strategy change here and there and rolled into the playoffs. So it was, I don't know if it's battle hardened or not, but it kind of worked out.
To an extent, you could say we were a little bit battle hardened because, like, to Brian's point, I mean, there's a lot of games on this schedule that we only won by 1 or 2 runs, and we had to be in those dramatic moments. And then it was like all of a sudden in playoffs, it switched and we didn't have those dramatic moments. There was a bit of the championship game we'll get to later where there was a kind of a twinge in the back of your hair, like, oh my gosh, is this happening again? But it, for the most part, playoffs seemed like it wasn't as, I hate to say it this way, but it wasn't as difficult. Everything was kind of riding on all cylinders for us in the playoffs rather than the regular season. I felt like we had to scratch and claw in the regular season just to squeak out 7-3.
Cool. Well, let's talk, if you can remember, I want to talk about the losses a little bit. The Astros, they were in your division. That was another kind of topic early on, like in the preseason, right? I say we, the Astros captain, but you had the same division as the year prior. And the conversation was, does that help? Does that hurt? And like, now that it's happened, what is your thoughts on that? Do you think it helped? Do you think it hurt? Do you think it mattered at all?
I think
the loss to you.
Well, I mean, the loss to us, it just plays into really more the division talk. I wanted to kind of gauge your opinion on the fact that you played the same two teams twice this year that you did last year. So obviously building a lot of history with those teams, facing those teams a lot. Do you think it mattered that it was the same? Do you think it helped? Do you think it hurt? What do you think?
I mean, if you get to play the A's 4 times in 2 years, that's always going to help. No offense, but I mean, our draw has been probably one of the best both years. So that was good. I'm not surprised that we split to the Astros, especially like, win the first game. And then I think at that time, a loss, I guess we still kind of landed where we did. But it really doesn't matter too much because I think the tiers are as accurate this year as they were last year. So you're going to get a good mixture of teams in each division.
I mean, the only game that division wise that we felt comfortable was that first game against you guys, Brian, where we won 15-2. The other games, like, we could have easily lost both of those athletics games. Like, for some reason, they played us really well both games. I mean, even 9-8 victory. I mean, we could have easily lost both those, and all of a sudden the A's are looking at a wild card spot and we're fighting for our lives too. And that's just the crazy part about this league, is anything can happen. Like, even though we got the A's, and yes, you like seeing them on their schedule, and we are 4-0 against them the past 2 years, easily could have switched.
Yeah. Those 2 runs were from me, by the way. You're welcome, Brett.
It's true. That's right. Way to put your team on your back, Brian.
You need more ABs.
Yeah.
Staying it forever.
We'll see. All right. And then losses to the Yankees and the Twins. So what can you recall about those games? Obviously the Yankees was a preview to the championship, also a repeat of last year's championship, which we'll get into again, but and the Twins, they're always one of the top teams. So what do you recall about those games? I didn't get a chance to really look at the final scores or anything like that, but if you can.
Oh, well,
They're rough.
I started both games on the mound, I think. So, I mean, we kind of knew what we might get. If we scored a lot of runs, we could maybe win. But
I think Brett started the Twins one.
Okay.
Definitely not the Yankees.
Just remember the
But
Yankees.
you
scoring a
came
lot of
in.
runs.
The Yankees were what, PG?
I just remember them scoring a lot of runs.
No.
I don't
They
remember
faced
both.
PG.
I don't remember
Pete.
either of those games very well, but
we knew we'd face them again in the playoffs, and look what we did. So
did you start that game on the mound, Pete?
I think Peter pitched a whole game.
Okay,
Against the
yeah,
Yankees.
I think our strategy there was to save the pitching for the playoffs because we knew we were going to face them, right? So to have Brett
No,
saying
It was
I won't even admit it out loud.
our other ace, Pete.
pretty
That's
obvious.
right. He
He's a
took
third.
one for the team on that one.
Took it on the chin. The old Trojan horse.
But also
Yeah.
that Yankees game, we still wanted to win. Like, we still trust Peter as our third pitcher, and
Absolutely.
I feel like he could put a big stop on a lot of other teams. He's just kind of biting the bullet for us for that game. But if we
We
win
scored
that
4
game,
runs. Like, that's kind of on us too. So
it is. And they only
Yeah.
scored 9. So, like, the powerhouse offense that the Yankees are only scoring 9 off Pete. But at the same time,
Gus probably had 8 of them. Like, who knows?
if we win that game, we're in line for the 1 seed. We almost got the 3 seed because the Twins, or we lost to the Astros on Monday. We lost to you guys, Brian, on Monday. But luckily the Twins lost to the A's like before that. So we kind of like got lucky in that sense. And like John said, it could have switched flip the script. So I think losing to the Twins and the Yankees was good because we knew what we needed to do to get better. And we know that at our full potential, we would be able to compete with them, which we did. And Brett pitched well in the playoffs. We'll get to, I'm sure. But last year, if you remember, boys, we beat the Twins and the Yankees, and then we lost the championship. This year, we lost to the Twins and Yankees, and we won the championship.
Well, that's my whole point. We didn't know what Sam just said, but in hindsight, like looking back, we lost to the Twins and the Yankees going into the playoffs. Like that didn't feel great, Brian. Like it didn't, and not a single one on this call is going to admit that it felt great. So not ideal, less than ideal.
You want to go 10-0, but 7-3, get into the playoffs and then get hot is what you want.
You're not going to turn your nose up at it for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's play a little game. We're going to shift here.
Yes.
We're going to talk about you individual players on the team as it pertains to the team. So I want to play a game. I'm going to basically say, like, ask a question about a role that each person played. And I want you to raise your hand if you think you were that person for your team. We'll start with the
do
first.
it.
Okay. Who was the leader of the team? Nobody was the leader.
I was
A bunch of followers.
I am
team.
not at all shocked that that's the way that played out. I would have been floored if someone raised their hand.
I was pointing to John just because
I was pointing to John too. But it really was
that we didn't get an answer. Who was the leader?
It's just a fancy title with a corner off. It doesn't mean shit. That's
John.
But I think too, John, like you underestimate like how much like we appreciate you sitting back and watching and seeing things play out that we're maybe playing in the game that we don't see. And what's great, Brian, is nobody raised their hand. And I think that's what John was saying is it shows that as a team, we made a lot of decisions together and we can bounce ideas off of each other and see what's working. But having John as kind of that person that has had that 30,000 foot view of the game sometimes is what we needed.
Yeah. All right. Next one. Who was the MVP?
regular season or playoffs.
Just keep your fucking hand raised.
Playoffs over here, regular season that way. Yeah, there you go.
All right. Everybody agree?
Yeah.
All right.
Can't argue.
Who was the weak link? Okay, John and PG both raised your hands. Tell me why you feel you're the
thought about it.
I wasn't the only one. I think somebody else should have raised their hand too, but I won't call them out.
John did, yeah.
I think the weekly
Just look at the numbers. I mean, what else is there to say? That sums it up right there.
I didn't play well at all, so I could also raise my hand.
And also, Peter, like, could say, from a self-reflection point of view, that this was his worst year that he's had at the plate. And while it may be statistically PG had a little bit worse of a year, Peter has been known to be a little more up there. So it could be just the production was different this year. And what's great about the team is we got big in situations. We got huge home runs from PG and Pete in very key situations. That grand slam Pete hit that one time where we all went nuts. Like, I forgot who it was against, but like that was a game-changing grand slam that we needed at that moment.
And Pete was asked to play a lot in the field and did a really nice job. So like Sam said the production was different. It was probably a little different for Pete too, but I mean, there's still production.
Yeah, that's why I didn't raise my hand. I'm gonna hang my hat on left field. You know, there was an error. It's tough play, hard line drive, but we had some weak link points, you could say, throughout the season for sure.
But yeah, if there's one, it was definitely me. Just look at the numbers, like I said.
Okay. Who was the glue?
Good question.
Yeah, there you go.
Glue.
So I think, I have unique relationships with everybody here. through Andrew in some cases. But like, you know, I'm the group chat, you know, definitely putting more words per minute out there, definitely keeping the chatter going.
Yep.
I had to find a role somewhere mid-season. I'm like, wow, this is not MVP season. I need to start, you know, making jokes and just kind of doing things to kind of stay involved. Yep. So
heart and soul, Peter, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, Benware, I'm sure Pete was pretty pissed off come Sunday morning or Monday morning, but like I don't think any of us knew it. Like I probably knew it, but like he wasn't showing it.
Yeah.
He was still leading off on Sunday.
Yeah.
So we all were like, yeah, Pete, let's go. You got to get hot. If we need you to win, we got to get hot.
Mm-hmm. Who was the best pitcher?
Regular season and playoffs.
Did Sam pitch in the playoffs?
No. A little bit in one of the games.
Exactly. So let's go regular season.
In the playoffs? I don't think
I didn't touch that ball in the playoffs, Peter.
In the regular season, though,
they talked about it, but didn't make the change.
No, we say this every single year. My floor is higher and Brett's ceiling is higher, but Brett was by far the best pitcher, stuff wise. You know, just putting us on his back on the mound in big situations, getting wins. So
it's less strikeouts, but a lot of like Brett gets so many pop-ups. You know, they kind of rinky dink it to you and just make a play.
Still playing shotguns, but yeah.
And groundouts. He gets groundouts to himself all the time because people swing over it and they ground it out.
Yeah. And if I've got any pitcher in this league who is going to field their own ground ball, I'm taking Brett over anybody else.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah. All right. Any other roles that you would like to assign a player? Whatever. You can make it the title.
That's a good question.
Say this person was this for us.
When we were probably struggling Sunday evening, Brett was really good at keeping the mood light and having fun and reminding us why we're all there. So I don't know how you put that into a role, but
guidance counselor.
We fucking lose. We should have lost the game. We lost the game. And Brett's just like, listen, man, we're still here doing this Memorial Weekend. We're having fun.
CEO, Chief Entertainment Officer.
Yes, I like it.
That's a pretty sweet title. All right, well, let's talk playoffs while we're here. All right, so in the semifinal, you guys start off facing the Twins, who again you had lost to in the regular season. You end up beating them 8-1. So let's talk through that game a little bit. Obviously, bats were clicking, but I mean, putting a 1 up, Brett, pretty impressive.
Yeah. It was an unprecedented pitching performance. And they had moments where they could have easily broken it out, but it was a hell of a game on the mound from Brett. And 8 is not a lot of runs, to put up against the Twins. But for them to only have 1 run in the playoffs is absolutely ridiculous.
Was it a 1-hitter?
And it was one hit, right?
One hit, one solo home run.
Yeah, I would have thought going into that game that they would have.
Oh no, because we watched it. Remember, and Chris had that little dribble at the beginning.
2-hitter, yeah. Chris had it.
Well, Sam jumped over the fence.
Well, we'll get there.
Don't
jump ahead.
I can't get over it.
That's kind of what I was going to say. I mean, like Pete played well in the field. PG hit, Sam hit bomb at I don't know what his stat line was, but it was great. He robbed Spencer's home run, which was a complete game changer. And we watched that. We went back and watched that like 5 or 6 times just to look at the different reactions from each player. And I still think Pete
fans
or John, just everyone's reaction was so good.
I mean, Benware, in that moment, we're up. We started strong. I'm kind of waiting for them to put the fight up. They're good. I mean, we're talking about Metter. We're talking about Bogad. We're talking about Corey McCarthy, legit players in this league, guys we all respect. When are they going to put the fight up? Bogad went to put the fight up. He absolutely did. And Sam stole that home run that no one else in this league probably makes that play. And when that play happened, in my head, I said, that's the game. we've got this one. They're not going to come back. If the 3 or 4 time MVP is going to try and put that ball over and Sam's going to stop them, they don't have it today. It's not their game. It's not a shot at them, but they didn't have it.
Yeah. Well, I did watch portions of this game, and I did want to mention, you guys were talking about Brett's fielding. The final out of the game was a ground ball up first base line in kind of no man's land.
Mhm.
Brett gets there, and John is yelling, tag him, tag him. And they do a little bit of a dance because Corey's trying to get around him, and he ends up tagging first and getting the force out. So just highlighting the heads up, one, the fielding prowess of Brett, but then 2, just the heads up play to make that. And Corey, like you said, Corey's a great hitter, and he tried to poke one over there where nobody could get to it, and Brett still made the play. So seemed like Brett was just on fire.
Can we rename No Man's Land Brett Man's Land? Because that's a play that he's
At least,
going to make.
at least until next year.
And
Right.
Brian, I feel like especially preseason, our team did not get a lot of fielding love. It really didn't. But I feel like we were last year one of the better fielding teams, and this year kind of proved it again on all facets of the field. There was so many games that were dominated by fielding that while Brett and I have our strikeout moments, Brett had a lot less strikeouts. So that means there was a lot more balls in play, and we had to field a lot more. So maybe we'll get a little bit more respect. We don't ever have that BK. We don't have that Chris. We don't have that Cole Layton on our team. But I think as a group, we have a good core of veteran fielders.
Yeah.
And Spencer Bogat always says it's the underrated part of the game. You gotta field well to win.
I agree. I mean, up until, so you guys, I made this stat a couple times in different podcasts, but you guys this year, the Yankees last year, so maybe the trend is changing, and the Expos, when they won their championship, other than those 3 teams in the last like 7 or 8 years, the championship team has had a platinum hands winner on it.
Yeah.
So for a long time, like, it basically meant you needed to have one of those guys.
Well,
But again, maybe this is changing. Maybe it's be consistent, and the flashiness is great. And those guys are, unbelievable. They create outs, not that they just make the play. But
every single person who played in the field in the playoffs for our team and the Expos is on this podcast right now. So I mean,
true.
It makes a difference.
So, all right, let's get into the championship. All right. So before we kick off the video, I want to talk about what you were thinking going into the game, knowing it was going to be, again, a rematch of last year's championship. You had already lost to them in the regular season by a substantial number. What were the nerves like? What were the thoughts like? Did it matter? What's going through your head?
I'll start. I mean, I definitely had a little more confidence this year going into that game. Granted, I didn't do great this season, but I mean, when I stepped in the box against Gus, and I hit like 5 homers off him last year, and he knows. And I said, "Hey, Gus, remember me?" And he laughed. And like, I didn't hit any. It was 6. It was 7 for 8, 6 homers. So he knew, and I didn't hit any home runs, I don't think, in that game. But I got on base and maybe messed with him a little bit, and he's pitching around me and he's tossing up some meatballs. I mean, I felt a little more confident knowing that like we were so close, like we can easily do this. But I knew that, it was going to need to be a well-rounded effort. I knew I needed to do better than I did in the season. So familiar feeling.
Yeah, I think I had a little bit more confidence as well going into that game. Basically just had the attitude, there's no way in hell that we're losing this game. And after beating the Twins, I personally had a little bit more confidence. So and we came out on top. So
the Twins win was definitely helpful, but I think also last year against the Yankees humbled us big time. Like, I feel like we got humble from, we were up, 7 going into the last inning, and then they tied us. And then we're like, all we got to do is hit 1 home run in the bottom. But I think it was nice having that experience from that loss and then leading us into this one. I felt like I wasn't necessarily as confident, but I thought we had nothing to lose, basically. I was like, let's just go out there, have fun, play our game. We just did great against the Twins. Let's just keep the same game plan and keep going.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have much else to add to that. I agree. All of that makes sense.
I kind of felt exactly the same as I did the year before, which made me a little more nervous this time around.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you knew the team was good enough to beat them, but you knew they were good enough to beat you. So
yeah,
it's a good team
for sure. All right, let me get this video popped up here, and we're gonna kind of talk through everything.
You know, Brian, while you're getting that video pulled up, there's already talk about the debate of should it be the Orioles or the Yankees for the #1 spot next year in the preseason power rankings, because people still think, you know, the Yankees, they have the firepower, they have the group, or do you go with the champs? That it hasn't happened in a long time. The last time it happened was when the Expos won the championship. The Expos were not the #1 seed going into the next year. But it's interesting because there's a big debate because the Yankees just on paper have that squad that could be that #1. So I'm interested to see what the voters decide.
Yeah. Okay.
I still let them have it. The curse of the #1, right?
Well, the curse isn't
They broke that
anymore,
rule,
unfortunately. I wish everybody picked the Expos because then we still would have had the curse. But
The exception of them, though, I don't think anybody is.
yeah, 1 out of 21 years. So
There you go.
All right, let's kick this off. We'll just kind of talk through moments here. I'll probably ask you some questions as we go, because obviously we'll have to go through every full pitch or full at bat and everything too. So
here we go. He played well all season.
can you guys see everything?
He was right up there with Scott Foley. Yeah, one of the great players in this matchup.
Brett leading off was big. I feel like we made that switch, and
I know we're a little bit in, but we have to go back. But there is a part in
we did nullify this though.
What do you mean? No,
Remember we talked about it. He didn't say what we thought he did.
no, but he said that there's no way in hell they're going to lose. What they say?
Yeah. He said I'm not losing this game, or we're not losing this game. But it's funny, Brian, because at the beginning of last year, or not at the beginning of last year, when we were up by quite a bit, the Yankees gave me a hard time all year long because I had said on camera, let's get 7 and mercy them and get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
And then they gave me crap all year long. And then on camera, Scott Foley says before the game starts, there's no way in hell I'm losing this game, or we're losing this game, like whatever it was. Which is great, which is a great attitude to have. Like it wasn't as worse as mine. Like mine, I jinxed us a little bit. Like for him, like he's just confident in himself. But
yeah,
I feel like Brett's going to break a hip on every swing.
he uses his whole body for sure.
Where the power comes from.
Violence, the hip motion.
I'm almost positive this is back-to-back home runs here to start the game. It's choppy on my end. I don't know if it is on yours, Brian, or what it's.
It is. I can still see Gus every once in a while throwing a little quick pitch to try and catch the batter off guard.
Right.
As long as you're ready for it.
Yeah, sorry, that's too bad. It's super smooth on my end. So
well, hopefully it records super smooth that way.
Yeah.
All
right, so Brett's on first now.
I think it's a walk. I think it's
Took a lot of walks this year.
Yeah.
or single.
Yeah, single.
Good too.
Yeah.
You know, that was underrated for our game too. I feel like didn't we have like 3 of the top 5 people in walks? I have it right here. Why don't I just look it up?
4 of the top 6. Yeah.
Wow.
4 of the top 7.
Oh yeah.
I guess you could say 4 of the top 4, because technically Peter and PG tied for 4th.
Yeah, and so Brian, you know, sometimes I struggle with, you know, am I a power guy? Am I an on base guy? So I think here you're going to see me try to go on base. I think I go opposite field, stretch it out for a double because I got good legs. So I think we'll see what happens here. I think I'm on second base.
And we don't have to watch the whole game, obviously, Brian, but you can skip ahead. We know it's going to be bases loaded, and you can get to Brett's at bat. That's what the next step is right here.
That's what matters.
All right, so PG's up.
Oh wait, is this the one that
No.
PG hit?
Don't-
That
don't-
Where I ruined it.
Yeah,
that is
go-
it.
go
You're
back to
right,
that.
sorry. There
This
are
is
so
the-
many moments in this first inning. You're right, John. I didn't think that was first inning, but it makes sense now.
So like PG hit one into the tree, and
Well,
man,
There it is, baby.
but
Nice, Pete. That
See
other
the
way
dust?
was
That dust fly up. Oh yeah.
it was good to get a first run in.
we're
But yeah,
seeing it play out.
this was my bad.
I had
And
a good
honestly, like everybody was yelling it was going to hit the tree, but I just thought it was going to be caught. So I was wanting to tag, which is the reason I wasn't going.
It's fair.
It
I
all
was
works
the-
out. It all works out in the end.
It does. I was just far away. I think Pete was yelling, go, 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 or somebody was, because Pete was close enough to see it was going to hit the tree.
I thought it was going to go out.
Yeah,
There was a
Pete-
little bit of wind. It kind of tailed
See,
back.
Pete's yelling at me.
I'm on third.
And I didn't even get past home. And I was like, no way did I just do that. Like, that's one of those blunders that can absolutely change a game.
It can be. I mean, you got to give the Yankees credit. It's a good play. It's a smart play from them to get it in quickly. I mean, they got to know the situation too.
Because if they catch that, then I have to stay on base. Like, I almost have to. But I should have just trusted that when
No.
Pete was
Well,
yelling at me, he knew it was going to go out.
Yeah.
But
No,
it doesn't
that's
matter.
correct.
It's already out, so inning
It
over.
doesn't. I don't think we have any outs right now, dude.
Nope.
No, 'cause you wouldn't have tagged if there was no out.
Jeez,
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
PG.
Uh-oh.
We already talked about- we
How many
talked
people were
extensively
yelling at
about
you,
this.
PG?
4.
Dude, no,
probably.
dude.
So,
Every
you need
John
some
was the
audio
only
of
one
this
yelling.
game later.
John was the only one yelling, dude. Everybody over at first base was loving it. They're like, "You're in his head," and I was
Oh,
like, "Shut up! You're gonna get me in trouble." But
the second time I yelled too.
yeah, it was close, but I was definitely. I think I was messing with his head a little bit. I think it was a little effective to some extent.
Good hold there.
Brett, is
Gus was-
it hard to get you out because you have such a small strike zone? Just being so squatty?
in proportion to my body, it's actually one of the largest strike zones.
I was gonna say the strike zone
Oh.
doesn't change, Brian.
That's it.
And that one's like I can like
Was
turn
that-
it on that. I thought that felt good, but went foul.
Yeah, that's 2 big shots foul you've had already in the game.
Nolan Arenado.
Maybe seeing Gus for the last 20 years has started to benefit me.
Well,
Like
I
that.
mean, his pitch starts inside, so I mean, you're definitely gonna hit a lot foul.
I feel like John and Sam Bakula are like best friends after this whole game. They're just
We were
always
throwing
here on
out.
camera.
We were just a couple guys in tanks broing out.
Yeah.
John's reaction to this was really good too. Like he walked away from Sam because he didn't want to like shove it in his face.
Get beat up.
Man,
He just
Yeah.
gotta
walked
have
over,
some respect.
like
Uh-oh.
put his fist out.
I'm not gonna celebrate in his face. He's a good dude.
Wow. That's a
Clutch.
Yeah.
Clutch, bro.
It's a fist pump moment. You know, proud of your best friend to get that huge spot and save me from a embarrassing loss of a run.
So
But putting
as you
us at
can
5.
tell just from looking at the bottom of the screen, then where team morale is well up here already. We're coming off that Twins win. We're just getting a 5-run lead now.
Mhm.
Another guy on base. I mean, team morale. BK's bringing it up by leaving. You can just tell we're killing it.
Yeah.
So you guys know the Cardinals, we suck, but when the Cardinals score first this year, we're 650 winning percentage. When we don't score first, 213. So this is big for us too.
Huh.
Must be in the water.
That's Twitter for me. A little Twitter note.
Well, we're also the away team, so we had first crack at it. But
Yeah.
That's true.
Away team, and you have to start out strong too. And still would look at it.
yeah, that was the first out. Now
But
we're
it's what
Casual pop
fast.
fly catch.
it's what
Too
happened
fast.
last year.
the 56er. He gets
Are we
another.
gonna make it two? Are we making it 2 balls for too fast or what?
I think that's gonna be the go-to change. Is what I've been hearing.
Do it.
Well, while we're
I love-
watching,
I think I
Sam,
walked.
the Skibby curse is officially broken. Back-to-back years with you and your brother winning. So that is no longer an excuse.
We just had to separate from each other.
Yeah.
There's
How's it
still
feel
it still
getting
is a
back on the
person
board
that's-
after so long, and all the teams you've been on, and all the success you've had?
Yeah.
You know, getting back on the board, getting in the winner's circle after how many years has it been?
2010 was my last one with Nick Late.
Wow.
Yep.
And Matt Boating.
So-
Sam must have
Matt-
carried them to a championship that year.
I think I won Triple Crown that year.
Yeah.
I didn't
Wait.
know Nick had won a championship. That makes me really sad.
Yep. Nick,
Well,
Nick had a
so-
good year.
Now that my drought is over, can we just start picking on someone else? Like, where's the next big drought coming? For
Yeah.
a
I
veteran
don't know who
guy?
it is.
who's played the most without.
It's like a Ty Butler type or like an 8 or 9 year guy, probably.
Well, so yeah,
That's true.
Ty and I were
Yeah.
rookies the same year. So it'd
Oh no, is it you, Benware?
it'd probably be him because
Are
he's
you
had
the
more
one we're
shots
picking
at it.
on?
He's probably had
No,
way more
no.
shots at it.
Yeah.
That's true.
He was
And
on the
Ty,
Royals.
yeah, Ty was on that
Sam
11
wouldn't
and
play
0
me
team.
when I was on the Cardinals, and then I get my own.
Little skibby hug off to the left there. If you guys saw that.
But
You
this
know-
is the year before started. We put up whatever 7 in the first, and then
Yeah. And they walked us in there. So I mean, they were going. We had bases loaded. They walked us in to just get 7, which is smart on their part. But it really gives us that confidence. But like you said, Brett, we just did that last year too. So we were staying humble still.
specifically, I remember that.
Dude.
All right, so
And-
again, I mean, obviously Brett had pitched an amazing game previously, so I assume it was pretty easy call. And
Easy call.
Sam, you've pretty much said like, I'm not touching the ball in the playoffs this year. That was sort of decided before playoffs, even, right?
Yeah, I think
That
the
was
only
big.
reason. Oh, that was that play. I got to it. Remember, Brett?
Yeah, and Sam playing in right field like helps so much. Like I wouldn't have gotten to that one based on where he was playing.
Yeah,
Just
I,
like-
I was in center
like
field
what?
basically.
He caught so much, which was
And-
just awesome. And then basically just threw the top gun the entire time.
So
And then
those
that was it.
1-2 inning. Wow.
Nice.
1-2 inning, quick outs for Gus and Scott. I
Yeah.
mean, it was huge for morale, and I think
The
it.
momentum, right? Keeping that momentum. You just put up 7.
Yeah, Brett mentioned Brian, but we said to Brett at the beginning, don't throw anything but the top gun. The first 3, and I don't think Brett brought the curveball out until the 4th inning. Like
Wow.
I think first 3 innings was complete top gun because it has that element of it's coming in, it looks a little bit hot, it sticks around the 55. He has good control over it, but sometimes it can be wild, so it's effectively wild as well. So it's just the pitch that throws people off balance so much. So
I mean, and Benware, you mentioned earlier, right? I mean, I think the plan, and I don't want to speak for Sam here, but the plan, Sam wanted Brett to throw the entire playoffs, but sometimes the best laid plans are the ones that don't work out. I mean, you always have to be able to adapt as a team. And while that was what we wanted to do, we didn't know how well that was going to work for us.
Beat
and the
that out.
Yankees,
Yeah, we talked about changing.
the Yankees also, Brian, were questioning why Brett was pitching because Gus was like, Sam, your stuff is really good this year. And
Wasn't that gamesmanship?
Yeah.
oh, I'm sure they were trying to get me on because my stuff's flat, like my riser's flat. Like I feel like most of my stuff is easy to pick up. So it could be a little bit of gamesmanship there too, but it's I don't think anybody wants to face Brett in the playoffs. We've seen it with the Rockies. We've seen it with not with the Expos. Regular season, he was incredible, but we saw it with the Rockies, seeing it with the Orioles now. You just don't want to face Brett in the playoffs.
Let's take it back to last year. And not to bring up a sore subject, right? But last year was championship, Yankees, Orioles, but probably I think the bigger thing was it was Sam versus Gus.
Yeah.
And that's what we did the entire game. And we know how that played out. And I'm not knocking Sam, but we started Brett and you can fast forward through some of this. We chased Gus off this mound at some point in this game. I don't know exactly when that was, but he was gone and they put Scott Poley in to finish the game. So like you can't just rely on what you think your plan was to roll in this game. You got to adapt during the game and do what's best for your team. And we did that. And the Yankees, I'm not saying they didn't, but they made
changed. It could have been earlier, maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been seeing Gus well for years now, and I mean, he, like you said, ran him out of the game, but Scott was pitching really well all year long.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
he would've been.
I mean, he was effectively their better pitcher this year.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
So they should have pitched him. I mean, he was
He
top.
ramped it up. He
three
ramped it up. That's why.
Yeah.
Did he pitch against us first time around where we lost?
I think so.
I have a team that has Gus Skibby, but I have another pitcher better than him on the team.
What? Yeah, I mean, the logic though is there too, right? The strategy. If you did face Scott, and yeah, he beat you, but you've already faced him, right? And with your lineup, it's it's a pretty big gamble to put him back out there to start the game too.
You're right. A lot of teams do that anyways. Like, we throw you throw the second guy that you can face because you know you're going to face him again in the playoffs and throw your ace.
Yeah. I mean, when we play you, right? I'm splitting my pitchers between both your games. It's for sure David's pitching against you once and Cam's pitching against you once.
Yeah.
And, I'm pretty sure we faced both you and Sam this year too. So,
But Benware, if you weren't playing us twice, so next year, there's no way we're winning your division again.
That's a good question.
Oh, PG almost got it there again the second time. That's what I was face.
So now everybody's yelling.
Are you going to
my
try and
gosh.
save one for that inevitable playoff run? Or are you going to try and pitch them both if you need to win the game? Like, how are you going to handle that?
The thing with the pitching for me, I tend to go through the matchups. I pick the division, I pick that out, and then I try to keep them as fresh as possible based on certain matchups. If I feel David's better against a certain team, I'm going to pitch him if I can, even if it's been, even if he saw them last year. If I feel really good about David or really good about Cam against a certain team, I'm going to slate him that way. And then I'm just going to kind of mix and match. We're not a team where I'm not to a point mentally yet to say like, oh, we're going to get into the playoffs every year to where I hold back. I'm going to try to win as many games as possible. And then I'll make the decision in the playoffs that I have to make. And so far I've lost both my playoff games. So I kind of suck at it.
So, I mean, not to jump back here, change the subject back, but I mean, coming back to.
Oh, Brett. Good job, Brett.
Yeah. This game, I mean, for Gus to put up a 0 after a 7 was big for their momentum, but then Sam Bakula flying out for the third out in a row, all flyouts. But Kevin Poley, I tell you what, has come into his own and is proving to be one of the better players in this league and was the fire starter for them.
Yeah.
And he hit
like
this ding dong. And the Yankees all of a sudden had some life. Like they all of a sudden were like high-fiving, getting ready. And we're like, is this like the time? Because even Brett's Top Gun, they're so tall that they can get to it. Gus hits a home run here too.
Oh, that's chop. Yeah.
Did you catch it?
No, I didn't. I tried. But
Tried.
Put my body on the line.
Hey,
but I mean, but the beauty of Brett is he bears down. Like he's not going to let 2 runs get by him. I mean, anything can happen with his Top Gun, and he gets a double. Scott gets a double here, and then Sam Bakula gets out right after him. So we can skip forward if we want to, Brian. But Brett gets out of it.
Did you look at that bat flip after he thought he hit it out?
Yes,
I did. Pulled it from the tree. Yeah, pulled it from the tree.
I ain't no way he's gonna lose this game, right?
No.
I will say that's one thing with the experience that you guys have in your pitching staff, with the amount of years all of you have played, Peter, PG included, 2 runs doesn't affect you the way it does maybe a younger pitcher where they feel like, I just gave up 2 jacks, and like they start getting in their head. You guys know that wiffle ball can be, an 18 to 15 game, and 2 runs doesn't make a big deal.
I've been on
from
both
a
ends.
mentality standpoint, I should say. I mean, obviously games come down to runs and can be close like that, but you don't start getting in your head and getting frustrated with yourself and then kind of deteriorate like some guys do.
Yeah. Sam, what was the final score of the championship 2 years ago?
27-25.
So yeah, 2 runs don't make a difference.
Honestly, solo home runs are like no big deal.
My point is, like, in the
Give it a
midst
hit.
of the game, you don't boil down.
Another good play by Sam there in the field.
Just
We've
right
got-
to me.
We've got guys who, like, Evan Quo last year, he started giving up home runs in a game, and they may still been right in the thick of it, but he started getting really mad at himself because he expected a lot out of himself.
Yeah.
But you guys just know, like, the ebbs and flows of the game. Yes, 2 runs can make a difference, John, and I did say that. But my point is that you have veteran leadership when it comes to your pitching.
So, Brian, this is our 3rd inning here, and this is actually the last inning we score runs. We don't score in the 4th or the 5th.
Yeah.
So we'll just stop the video after that.
Yeah.
I mean, we hit, I think I hit 2 home runs in this inning. Like, Brett hit a home run. Like, it was going.
First
Like, we were
pitch.
Yeah.
and it catapulted us to that 9-run lead, but you would think that's not going to be enough after the 27-25 game we had last year.
Yeah.
But this is also the inning we ran Gus out. So is that a coincidence that all of a sudden Scott Foley comes in and we didn't score the rest of the game? So
They should have started Scott. I mean, he had a really solid year. So it's kind of weird, like the problem we have, like which ace do you pitch? Scott can be an ace, and he was in the conversation. So
I don't know. I don't know if that was ever going to be their plan, honestly. Like,
it's
I bet
hard
it
to
was
go against the skibby.
It's kind of like Brett. Like, Gus has better stuff, but his floor was higher this past year. Like, I feel like Gus's ceiling is higher, but Scott's floor was higher this past year. So
kudos. We adapted as a team. We didn't do what we did last year. We did something different in the finals this year against the same team. And that's good on our pitching staff to pull that off.
it's a long at bat from Peter. He walks here.
So Benware, what was the vibe check on the orange jerseys with the other teams? Did you guys like the Orioles orange jerseys?
Oh yeah, I loved those polos. Those were sick. I really liked the cream jerseys that you have too.
I'm
a big proponent of, like, kind of throwback looks. I was in the corner of John that you guys should have been allowed to be called the Browns.
Let's talk about that.
So the fact that you pay a little bit of homage to that. The cream looks really good. The jerseys were really nice this year.
Yeah, it's nice.
The oranges was whose idea?
I think all of us just knew, like, we had to do an orange one. Like,
Well,
originally we were like,
birds
it
on the
looks
bat.
too. Yeah. Oh, that was Trent's idea. Trent Steffes.
Did he do your jerseys this year?
Yeah, he did the birds on the bat.
Yeah, that was sick too. That with and then like, John, you going with the Missouri logo as your number there, which was cool.
Yeah, I like to be difficult.
It's like it's a St. Louis Cardinals-esque Orioles logo.
Yeah,
I really
With a
love.
little Browns undertone,
which,
man. It's
again,
perfect.
throws back to the Browns a little bit
Browns.
too, in St. Louis. Oh,
Yeah, first pitch.
God,
That
I
was a
did
good pitch.
That was a dirty pitch. I thought the
That was
ball
good.
was going to hit me in the elbow, but
It would have if you didn't lift your arms, probably.
Yeah,
Honestly.
I should have pulled a Fernando Vina, just taking one up the chin there.
yeah, no, I like.
Scott Poley.
I think the orange is sweet. Like, obviously the Astros for the longest time were the only orange team in the league, and we try to stick with a lot of oranges and stuff. And now that you guys are here, like,
Well, and Brian, do you know how we decide which jersey we wear?
no,
Because Brett can't pitch with sleeves, so we have to wear tank tops when Brett pitches.
That's it.
I just can't do it. It's so hard.
can you
You're
pitch shirtless?
Anytime
Can you
I'm
just-
pitching, we're wearing the creams, and then anytime
Okay.
Brett's pitching, he gets pitched.
That's exactly
So
the truth.
did you guys have to switch jerseys, like, throughout the day?
We talked about if we had a game or a day, we could switch. It's no big deal. So
Yeah,
2-run shot. Yeah.
nice.
This is 10, and then I think I hit a solo for 11, and then that was end of scoring. So
Look at that hug.
we can skip after this at bat if you want. Go
Yeah,
forward.
let's watch Gus get
We
runs.
could
We can
just
skip
skip
for
this
sure.
at bat.
See the homer.
You can definitely skip this at bat. It's fine. No. It
Sam, it
was
looks like, hey, has your stance changed a little bit? You used to keep your feet a lot closer together.
I used to be it's different. I have like two different batting stances. I feel like when I'm a little more relaxed, I'm kind of more like open like this. And then I feel like if I have two strikes, like I kind of bear down, and I even do that in Mo-If. I found like I'm more relaxed at the plate at the beginning, kind of reading pitcher, and then all of a sudden I'll like bear down with it. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't even know if I have a batting stance. Like I never was really taught like a good batting stance, honestly. I used to bat like Jim Thome and like point at the pitcher every time.
I
really?
I remember that.
I
from
do
your
Little
days.
leagues.
I don't know
Mhm.
why I do. And you loved Kenny Lofton.
I love Kenny Lofton, man.
Who
He was
doesn't
the
love
man.
Kenny Lofton?
So goofy.
Yeah, I know.
The Indians.
Oh, there it is.
Oh,
So Sam, I would say
and he
Sam
goes
Skibby.
and gets his ball.
Every time Sam hits a home run, he gets his ball. I don't think I've ever gotten one ball in my life, my career.
Man,
Me
Yeah,
and
you've
PG get them.
you've got two nephews and a niece for that, man. You're fine.
Yeah.
PG and I get ours.
I never get mine. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, really? Oh, here's Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean to,
yeah,
but
while he's
forget.
warming up, let's talk a little bit. Peter and PG, obviously breaking the streak. Peter, you went 19 years without a championship. PG, you were 14 years. How long was it?
11, maybe?
2012, I think. So
Probably 11 or so.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
13.
whatever
So
Peter says.
how did it feel kind of breaking through that glass ceiling and getting your first win? I mean, I was present there taking a lot of pictures. I could see the elation on your faces, but just talk about that moment and kind of getting that championship finally.
I thought it was great. I mean, obviously, winning the championship, what's better than that? That was the ultimate goal, and it was amazing, but it was bittersweet, at the same time, just because of my performance throughout the year. But I think in the playoffs I picked it up a bit, but there's no denying that Sam and Brett and Peter as well definitely carried the team and picked me up throughout the year. So it was bittersweet, but still I can't complain. And looking forward to next year. In my mind, it can't do any worse, right? So I'm looking forward to getting back out there and just letting it rip. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad PG went first too, because I couldn't even like trim it down even more. Like Sam and Brett like really carried us this year. And so, I mean, 19 years, first championship, like my life hasn't really changed. I mean, I haven't got any endorsement deals or anything. I mean, Aaron doesn't really, bring it up very often. I thought she might, but like most people in my position, if they need a championship to like bolster their Hall of Fame resume, I could get that, but that wasn't really my issue either. So it has been good. I mean,
Right again.
it was my worst year by far, so it's kind of ironic. I mean, me and PG both, we've had our MVP to PG-esque years and then not gotten there. So to be probably worst for both of us, it's kind of crazy. So again, comes to Sam and Brett with John's guidance. So I'm kind of hungry for more though. So I mean, I hope we play the Yankees again next year and just do it all again.
God, I hope that doesn't happen.
And that was what, Pete, our third or fourth. We had lost 3 or 4 championships before this.
Yeah, I mean, I've probably been in 5 or 6 or so myself. So
Okay.
Is that including the one we forfeited or no?
I don't know. Like, let's get Craig on here.
They lost to John and me.
I actually think the Brewers were
no.
only in 2 championships, now that I remember.
Yeah, it was 2, but then 1 last year with the Orioles. I was counting 3 for us. So
Rays and Space.
Yeah.
Let me jump in here,
With
Ben,
another
really quick,
yak.
because the one day when I finally tell a story about how the Orioles like came about, like the very beginning of that was a conversation Pete and I had. Like, I was kind of joking, but I was like, Pete, you're my brother, and when you're done with the Brewers, what if I start a team and you play with me? And he jumped on that real quick. He was just so quick, like, yeah, it sounds awesome. And to think back to that conversation we had and the things that happened after that, and to actually win it is really cool for me to have been a part of Peter's first championship.
Yeah.
Agreed. That was one of the coolest things, was like PG and Pete first time.
Mhm.
John and I just won with the Expos a few years ago, and like Sam had won in a long time, and like just seeing all that shit with your best friend winning in fucking 13 years. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It just like topped everything off. It was so cool.
Yeah.
It honestly felt like my first championship. Like as much as you can appreciate the old years, like this is just a new era.
First championship.
Oh, dude.
I mean, like the first championship, whatever, with Nick Meyer, like that was whatever. And then the winning with Gus, like it was, and Brett can attest to this, but like he won with Gus year 2. It was just too easy, like winning with Gus. And then winning with Nick Lape and Matt Boding was a challenge. And I remember that year, but it's just, Brian, you said at the beginning of this podcast, this is just a new era of competitiveness. And yes, we're all getting older. So like our stats are all getting worse. Like we're not hitting as many home runs, but we're all not hitting as many home runs. So it's still competitive in that sense. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the games just have become more intense and it's become more finessed on the pitching and fielding side rather than just mashing a bunch of home runs.
Yeah. Well, John, let's talk about your perspective on this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this is your second championship, right?
Yeah, and I threw a summer league in there at some
Okay.
point. So
So it was your second. It was your second championship.
yeah.
And but obviously a different perspective, right? Being the captain, managing this team, putting this team together. Obviously, your first year you get to the championship and all that, but to circle back, to make it back to that game and then to win it, like how did this compare to the Expos championship? Obviously a different role too within the team.
There's not going to be a comparison, right? I mean, like you never forget your first time, so that's always going to be special in its own right. This was different and a lot of more fun and lighthearted ways, mainly because I did it with Pete. Like that's a huge part of this. This one's super special. I mean, you're going to see at the end of this. Obviously, we'll get to it. The celebration. I mean, I think I had more fun probably celebrating this one with Brett and Sam and Pete and PG than the other one. And they're different. They're just different, but they're more fun. Sam, can you go backwards on this? I want to make sure that
I'm not.
No, your background.
Oh, backwards.
I wanted to at least
mention this.
A comment on one of the more private celebrations, family celebrations. Brian, was a dinner in which Pete, who took the trophy home and held it for the entire summer, showed up at my parents' house for dinner and didn't say a word, snuck in, put the trophy on my parents' dining room table, and then like left. So when we were seated for dinner, and I purposely walked right behind Eli, and he rolled the corner, it was sitting right on the table. And he had to sit through an entire family dinner. Me, Nina, my kids, Pete, Aaron, his kids, and Eli, my parents. And the trophy sat in the middle of the table the entire time.
That's great.
Oh, shit.
Well, Brett, let's talk about you and your 6th title.
Oh my gosh.
Brett.
But
guys,
congratulations. Does that make are you tied? Do you have the most championships? Tied. Okay. With Metter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But what I do want to bring up was the fact that you did this with Sam after all of the heartbreak with the Cardinals and what you guys went through with that team and being a top team all those years and just never getting over the hump to be able, and then obviously last year that plays out again. So just what did that kind of mean with all that history there to win it this year?
yeah, we tried, like, I don't know, we are just like, we were playing together for so long and we couldn't find those extra pieces that like
Oh.
worked with who we were at that time. Like there was, I mean, I don't think I was much of a pitcher for a while, but like
Yeah.
Sam started as a pitcher, I started as a hitter. It just, the trajectory has changed of who we were and who we are now, just like worked out well at the time that it was, because the Expos had won and then Sam and Gus were like leaving, and so we're like, I mean, why not? Let's find a couple other guys, and Pete and John kind of had the idea, and we obviously were comfortable with that. So I mean, winning with all of these guys, bringing PG back and everything, it was a really cool one. Which yeah, Sam and I, long time
Yeah.
trying.
It was, the Cardinals were kind of you could say arguably is the most failed franchise in football, or you could make the argument that the other one is the Royals. So the common denominator is me. So it's because Cardinals and Royals are arguably the most failed franchises. The Royals had some of the best teams on paper, and including the 11-0 team that lost to Brett in the championship to have the first immaculate season. So the Cardinals had so many years where we was just a revolving door of those extra pieces that Brett was saying. Like we never had a person that we could rely upon every single year like a lot of the other teams did. Royals were the same exact way. It was the same blueprint. It was me, Gus, and Ty, and then a revolving door of a fourth person. It was always somebody different. These teams that can establish themselves. So for the Yankees to have a new team with Gus adding in, although he's best friends with them and it's an easy transition. And then for us to be a new team and to make it to back-to-back championships and both teams win is kind of unprecedented. Like I feel like teams have to build that rapport. Look at the Rays, look at the Twins, look at the Rockies. They've built that rapport with their guys. So you got to believe like teams like the Astros, teams like the White Sox in the future, teams like the Athletics, they might be able to start building that rapport and make a run, because anything can happen. So it was nice to get a win with Brett after all these years. Brett and I played together with Rob Walters one year. We went 9-1 and we didn't even make it out of the semifinals that year. So Brett and I have never had success until this year, and it's all because Brett pitched in the playoffs.
Yeah.
On the Brett, I mean, and so like we have a lot of young talent in the league, but like Sam and Brett have always been, they're the old talent and they still got it. They're the foundation of the league. And so those two more than anybody else, like any other founder or Gus or anybody. So being along for the ride was great. I knew coming in, I felt like Sam was kind of like LeBron James. It's kind of like, I would just go along for the ride. Like I'll be LeBron James' son and I'll just join the Lakers or whatever. And so seeing Sam do what he does, and he's having a great summer, great year. And then Brett, like, okay, we agree Chris Metter's like the GOAT, and then Brett is number 2. And then like,
Do we?
Well, just for now. And then like for the playoffs and just
franchise era. Yeah, you could say
Chris is number 1 of the decade. Like we can't talk about that, but after Brett, number 2, like there's a long gap. And then there's somebody else. Then there's a Spencer or Sam or Gus, whoever, but Brett is just, we do it again next year. And then we can talk about Chris and Brett separately for the pitching, the fielding, and what they do.
And to have role players, like you could say Brett and I had great years or whatever, but to have role players like Peter and PG who have shown that they can be MVP caliber players. Like I think there was always that knowledge from Brett and I and from John's perspective as a captain that something's going to click or a moment's going to happen for PG and Peter. So even on a time when Brett and I would get out, because we did get out, they had to step up too. And to have somebody like John, who has a championship pedigree now twice, is nice to have that view. And people forget John was an original 2003 member of the league. So he's been around just as long as Brett and I.
I mean, taking this in a slightly different direction. So like when I'm like 85 years old and on my deathbed and like thinking back to this league, I don't think I'm going to remember the championships that I won. What I think I'm going to remember about this league is Pete's MVP season, when the entire league was chanting MVP, MVP, and knowing that he was as dominating of a force in that year as anyone else in this year. That's what I'm going to remember about this league. And for him to do that, and it wasn't all that long ago, and PG was second in the MVP voting, really not all that long ago. And those are the role players, as I think Sam just called them, right? Like those are the guys not in charge. Like that's a pretty good place to be in as a team.
Well, not just this year. Like next year could completely flip. Like Brett and I have had down years. Like what if PG and Peter have a MVP caliber year? Like that's the beauty of trusting your teammates and having that, that knowledge of what they can do.
Puts the pressure on the other pitchers to pitch to everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know that other guys were hot at certain times, but Pete and PG have shown what they can do, and it is intimidating a little bit for pitchers.
It definitely limits the amount of walks or intentional walks around you two to get to those two, because either people aren't paying attention, even if you're having a down year, like Peter and PG step into the plate and you're like, these guys are MVP caliber players. Like, we can't just get around these guys too. Like, you're just going to have to put your big boy pants on and try to beat the team as the team. So
it showed with the walks. Brett and I top 2 in walks in the league, and then PG Pete right behind him. So there's
you guys kind of played a little bit of Rocky ball, huh?
Yeah, swing at strikes.
It worked.
Yeah. Who knew?
Well, no runs this time, but obviously we'll get to the next inning when the Yankees put a little pressure on us, right? It was 11-4. They made it 11-7. They scored 3 runs. If you watch
the bottom part of the screen, you can see Brett starting to fade a little bit with the old classic. It's Monday. I've been doing things since Friday that I shouldn't do, and I've been probably drinking more than I should drink, and sleeping less than I should sleep, and he gets a little tired on Monday.
And Brett, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe it wasn't this game, but I feel like there was a time where Brett turned around. It was hot. Like I was just like worried about him with the whole like fainting spell you have at the Expos. That first out was huge, by the way, Brett. Like getting the first out. I mean, they still scored runs here and put up a fight, but But I felt like there was a point after the couple home runs where like Brett and I were like making eye contact or even saying like a couple more, like one more, like when do you pull Brett? For me, like that was the only time.
Conversation on the mound.
Yeah, we were considering when do we pull? Because they hit 3 solo home runs here, and you're like, like maybe we should show them something different. And I just resoundingly did not want to do it, but I would have if the rest of the team thought so. But
I'm glad you guys didn't look at me, because I think I probably would have offered my opinion there. So like, good job of ignoring me.
We were close. I mean, remember turning around. It was like,
if you had a couple more, we probably would have done it. Like it honestly we probably would have got to the point where it would have made the switch. But glad it was Brett's playoff MVP to win, and he pitched so well for us down the stretch. So definitely deserved it. And we got I remember watching this, and Spencer Bogut always has his camera out each time. I wonder how many videos he actually took, but there's 2 more home runs and then an out. So,
and he came out clanking with the champagne.
Yeah, he's trying to carry his camera and the champagne, and
yeah, Brian, there was 5 bottles of champagne total that I purchased, and Spencer brought out 4 of them. And then Chris Metter only brought out 2 after we won. So we didn't have a lot of celebration. It dwindled very fast.
Well, at least you can maybe drink some of it.
Well, and Peter had the great idea of doing a separate video afterwards. So we got to use those other 2 for that cool video afterwards. So it worked out. Yeah, what a cool moment. But like Peter and I, you can't really tell probably in this one, but like Peter and I are just like completely silent out on the field because
it was so quiet.
Like I didn't want to say a word. I was just staying focused. Like, oh my gosh, it was.
Yeah. So they're starting to put up some runs. Like, what are you guys feeling? Obviously you're being quiet, but what are you feeling right now?
I remember saying, like, come on, one time, like just one time, like get the out. Like I remember saying that to myself. I said it at the NWLA tournament too, as we were starting to lose it in the last inning. It was like just one time, just like I don't know why I chant that to myself every time, but it worked this time. In the tree again. I tried to fall over, catch it, but no. 2-run home run, and then this is the last batter, Brian.
What do you guys think is going to happen?
I think isn't it the first 3 pitches too, Brett? Like I felt like he was really swing happy.
I do not remember.
Yeah, I am always. I mean, I'm always quiet, like Sam's point. I've been there before, and I'm just trying to kind of hope they don't hit it to me. To be honest.
So we've watched, or like I've watched this before, and like I'd never watched the previous championship against them until after I watched this one, which was one of the best games of all time. But this was awesome to kind of get back at them.
Nope, didn't swing at that one. That was 2 balls. But that's the beauty of Brett's pitch, like that effectively wild.
Yeah,
that was a nasty pitch. So Brett throws one over the fence and then comes back and throws one at the top of the zone, like probably the same eye level.
2-2.
It just like, I don't know, it just drops. I don't know how.
And it was this is the same exact pitch. Pretty sure it missed the zone again in the top left. Same pitch.
Spencer on his 47 video.
And Sam
chugs his beer.
What a guy.
Woo.
You know,
It was on.
And you know, Yankees class acts, you know, they have, let's have have our moment. You know, Gus even said, like, he even told me afterwards, he said, I think I teared up watching you celebrate, like, with your teammates, because like he was excited. Like I was excited for him last year. Like I remember the minute we lost last year, yeah, it sucked, but like I was excited for my brother and excited for him to be with his friends. And I think Gus returned the favor for me and said, you know, he was glad. So he's like smiling, I feel like there, and they wait and let us have our moment. And so it's always a constant battle against that team. And they're a team that you just dread having to face those trees, you know, back to back to back to back. But it's going to be interesting next year. Same 2 teams going to go back. Who knows?
Yeah, that was going to be my final question. Is that what you guys think will happen? Is it'll be a 3rd round of this heavyweight battle?
Okay, Brian, flip it on you. Who stops us?
Question.
I don't know. I mean, the Twins had a down year. They're always capable. If the Rockies continue to improve and do what they did this year,
sure,
they could do it.
Chad Young was on another level this year with the Rockies.
Really, really good. I'd like to think that at some point one year I'll get to see that game, but we'll see. I would say
it's crazy.
Yeah, I would say right now those 2 teams would be the 2 that I would currently say that have a shot at it. You know, like you said, anybody can have a down year. Gus had a down year this year, but Scott picked him up on the mound and obviously was unbelievable.
Brian, there you are. There you are, Brian.
Yeah, I've been there, dude. Took all those photos.
I think there are 8 teams that have a legitimate shot at playoffs. And I'm not including a team that has proven above all odds that they could also get there too, on the back of great pitching. Yeah. So technically there are 9. You know, I think the Expos are 1 piece away on the offensive side to getting back to being in that conversation. And it's amazing to be the commissioner of a league that has so much parity and gives you those great games day in and day out. We almost started the year 0-2. We almost lost to Jimmy Nelson on game 2. Like if it wasn't for Brett's brilliant pitching performance, we would be 0-2. So
yeah, what was that, a 3-1 victory? It was pretty low, right?
3-1. Yeah. And all the runs before the rain happened, and we didn't score again.
Well, any final thoughts, boys, before I let you go?
It was fun.
You ready to move on to season 22 yet?
Already did.
I still
I'm
got to
ready
wrap
for-
up season
Trophy.
season 21, Brian.
There she
I'm, re-
is.
I'm ready for fall ball.
That's right. Fall ball coming up September 23rd to 24th. Everybody sign up. You can sign up as a free agent or as a team. And then teams, make sure you mark if you're willing to take on a free agent or not. Should be an exciting time. Prizes to be won.
New rules, different stuff, no running.
Pretty much the same rules, just no running and
I just
kind of
meant
the
different rules from our normal league.
oh yeah. So
So.
it'll be a good time had by all. Maybe
Yeah.
even a cash prize for the winners too.
Whoa.
Throw in that money.
Sign up.
That's right.
All right, boys. Well, from all of us, well, from me, I guess maybe. Congratulations. It was very well done. It was fun to watch. And fun to just kind of see the joy, see how it all came about, and yep, as Sam massages the spot where your names will go. It should be fun. So I will let you go. Again, for the SWBL, I appreciate you guys being on, and we'll see you all soon.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you, Benware,
Thanks,
for
Brian.
hosting us for 90 minutes tonight, man. We appreciate your time. We really do.
You guys.
Thanks, Brian.
Sweet.
Thanks, man.
Go team. Go team.
Orange.
Oh,
Hey, wait, real
Oh.
quick. Everybody give me your best O face.
oh. Reels. PG doesn't even have an O. Did he freeze? Oh no, he's
I did it.
All right. See ya.
see ya.